Watch this.
The threat of an all-out repeal of Medicaid expansion didn't seem to work. But what if they still included work requirements to be eligible for health care coverage? The latest Medicaid bill gaining ground at the State House, and maybe they kick you a little cash to cover those medical bills. And speaking of medical coverage, Idaho lawmakers are still considering tweaking the program focused on bringing more doctors to the gem state. When it comes to WWAMI, it seems the hope is subtraction might lead to addition.
You know, it's the same technology from way back in the 1600s, and it will continue to be.
You know, time takes its toll on a lot of things, except when it comes to timepiece technology. Well, we spent some time with one Boise man who's capitalizing on this antiquated craft.
Yeah, I feel really good. That's a good thing. I think that's the biggest income tax relief in Idaho history. It's a good start. We need to keep doing it.
Oh yeah, Speaker Moyle is thrilled, and Idaho taxpayers might be as well, as those who are considered in the middle income range will soon find somewhere around $130 more in their pockets. This afternoon, Governor Brad Little signed House Bill 40, the $253 million tax relief bill, which will reduce the income tax rate from 5.69% to 5.3%. It also expands the tax exemption on military pensions and gets rid of the capital gains tax on precious metals. $253 million is a bit more than the $100 million Governor Little proposed at the beginning of the legislative session, something he told us last week he wasn't happy with, but obviously not that unhappy since it didn't keep him from signing it today. Joe Paris, this is just the beginning of these tax bills that we've seen. I think a couple more could still get in front of the governor, not including the $50 million that he already signed that takes money out of the general fund because of the parental school choice tax credit.
Yes, and another, I guess, same situation would be the grocery tax credit.
Yep.
That would be another $50 million that wouldn't show up in the general fund. Of course, there's the property tax relief that unanimously passed the Idaho House. It's in the Senate right now, and there's other ideas floating out there for tax relief as well. Infrastructure, supplements to the Tecum Fund. So there's a lot of taxes to still be cut. And there's also a lot of budget items under consideration. Right now, the state of Idaho is focused on Medicaid, and just today, the Idaho House advanced a new version of a proposal to rein in the possibility of a runaway Medicaid budget. And previous versions included a provision to repeal Medicaid expansion as a cost-saving measure. This latest version does not do that, and critics say that is an improvement, but they still have concerns. Supporters believe that this one will make it to the governor's desk, a move to save future Idahoans money.
This is not about requiring people to work. It's about requiring people to navigate very extensive paperwork proving it. And people run afoul of paperwork. And then when you have all these working people kicked off of Medicaid, they turn up at hospitals, they have no insurance. We're right back where we were before Medicaid expansion, with rural hospitals feeling the strain, going out of business, passing on costs to all those that are insured.
Again, this is only dealing with the Medicaid expansion population as well, which Medicaid expansion was brought into place for the working poor. Right now we have 47% of them not working. And so again, this is a good bill, and I would ask for your green light. Thank you.
So the conversation on Medicaid is now in the hands of the Senate. We will follow that, of course, for you. Here's a question for you. What if you seriously disagreed about an evacuation during a flood or wildfire? Should Idahoans have the right to refuse to leave their house in those situations for whatever reason? Well, a bill to accomplish just that is headed to Governor Little. House Bill 97 would allow Idahoans to refuse evacuation orders. In exchange, it requires them to accept all the risks of the situation, and they'd be on the hook to reimburse rescue costs if their choice ends up being a bad one and they have to call for a dangerous rescue. One lawmaker speaking in support of it used her own experience as an endorsement.
Several years ago, we were in the middle of a forest fire, a huge forest fire, and we stayed and protected our ranch, and we saved all but one building. So this bill does work, and we knew the responsibility that we had by staying.
Critics of the concept say that the whole idea puts first responders in danger, asking them to do things that could be more difficult down the road. But now the question is, will Governor Little sign it, veto it, allow it to become law? We will find out over the next several days. And finally, a new idea pitched early this morning looks to add more transparency to situations where Idaho lawmakers or statewide elected officials go on trips out of town that they did not pay for, aka when a lobbyist would fly out a lawmaker to do what special interest groups do best, wine and dine. A question, though, about splitting lawmakers and state executives into separate bills did come up.
I would rather have seen these in one bill. I'm afraid that one may pass and the other may not, and that's kind of a concern that I have.
So the latest idea actually removed a previous provision that would have required disclosure of receipts to see the actual dollar amount that these trips cost. That's been taken out. But both ideas, individual bills, they were printed. So now it'll be interesting to see if lawmakers want to create these rules for themselves or the governor, or neither, or both, or one of each. You get it. But Brian, it is a big deal, and we know that there's a push for transparency at the State House.
Okay, I want to go back really quickly, because to Senator Carlson's point, she did stay, she did protect her property, so that is already allowed, correct, when it comes to evacuations?
It's allowed, but now it's in state law.
Okay. That book keeps getting thicker. All right, thank you very much, Joe.
You just said there's people who are not happy with WWAMI. I haven't received a single email from anyone saying I'm unhappy with WWAMI. Can you tell us a little bit more about who is unhappy with WWAMI and why?
Representative Manwaring.
Mr. Chairman and Representative Mathias, I think you should talk to some more of your colleagues in this building, for starters, and including of the opposite party, to get more of that conversation. And I'm not afraid to stand here and tell you I am unhappy with WWAMI.
Representative Dustin Manwaring appears to be legislating for himself here with another proposal to end a medical school partnership with the University of Washington, one that's been in place for 53 years. UW runs WWAMI, a 5-state medical partnership between Washington, Wyoming, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho. 40 Idahoans get a state-subsidized seat in the WWAMI program each year. But because, as Representative Manwaring explained his unhappiness, Idaho lawmakers want more spots in the program and a promise Idaho tax dollars won't pay for performing abortions. They kind of want to blow it all up. However, as has been pointed out by many, including those we've spoken with here on the 208, more spots would require more Idaho doctors to teach those students, which we don't have, and WWAMI students don't perform abortions while in school. Previous bill was stalled because a lot of the doctors, students, and medical professionals came forward to say how this is such a bad idea. It would ruin crucial clinical relationships and possibly worsen Idaho's already short doctor shortage, or expansive doctor shortage, I should say. So the plan seems to have changed right now. Let me get this straight, though, Aspen. The whole point of this new proposed bill is to kind of addition by subtraction? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah, originally it was let's back out entirely of WWAMI, right, but now not so much. Representative Manwaring introduced the original WWAMI bill earlier in this session, but yesterday proposed an alternative. This new bill, House Bill 386, proposes Idaho keep the partnership with WWAMI, but instead of 40 seats a year, they would have 30. Then Idaho would send 10 students to programs outside of WWAMI. The bill calls for increasing seats in a non-WWAMI program by 10 each year until they get to 30. Manwaring says this will allow the state to add more training opportunities for future Idaho doctors and continue their relationship with WWAMI.
This was an attempt to move us in a different direction, to make some changes, but to keep what is working and not completely disrupt that. And it may be where we have to take more WWAMI seats away, and it may be where we don't. And this bill leaves both of those options on the table.
Another part of this bill would require the State Board of Education to look at undergraduate medical programs and try to increase the opportunities for Idaho students. Doctors say they support the State Board weighing in on the conversation and want the state to explore other opportunities and programs for Idaho students, as long as that doesn't mean participation in WWAMI is reduced.
Cutting WWAMI seats is going to be detrimental as far as having a good pipeline of physicians, particularly primary care physicians, particularly physicians who are interested in practicing rurally, and I think will be, again, a detriment to the state.
Again, this was introduced yesterday. It's waiting a committee hearing. We should expect to hear what lawmakers think of this alternative decision, as well as the public weighing in on that as well.
And to Representative Mathias's point, there have been a lot of complaints about WWAMI up to this point, up until this year, from a couple of lawmakers who want to see it change.
Right. There's actually seems to be more support. I know it was a brief discussion in committee introduction yesterday about concerns of really ending this and what that will do.
Based on Idaho's abortion law seems to be the primary factor here.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Aspen. Snip, snap, snip, snap. It looks like forest workers who were fired last month must now be rehired, at least temporarily. And the City of Trees is making a case to be the City of Parks as well. Abby Davis has details in today's 411.
New court documents reveal more evidence in the case of the Moscow murder victims. Those documents show a 3-person mixture of unknown DNA was found under the fingernails of one of the victims. The filings claim the DNA was found on fingernail clippings from Madison Mogen's left hand. The defense claims the results of the DNA testing were inconclusive. The results of the test have been redacted from court records. 30-year-old Brian Koberger is charged in Mogen's murder, along with the murders of Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. All 4 were found stabbed to death in a Moscow home in November 2022. Koberger's trial is scheduled for August in Boise. Prosecutors have said they plan to seek the death penalty if Koberger is convicted. The more than 3 dozen Payette National Forest Service workers who were fired last month must be reinstated. That's according to a filing by a federal workers' rights organization. Those who were fired were on probation at the time. The filing, made by the U.S. Merit Systems Protection Board, reinstates the U.S. Department of Ag workers for at least 45 days. It says workers were fired in violation of the federal laws and regulations governing reductions in force and probationary terminations. More than 150 people protested the firings in McCall on February 17th, some claiming they were fired over email the weekend before. Those who were laid off were part of teams that did fire mitigation, avalanche prevention, cleared trails, and performed campground maintenance. The City of Boise is acquiring more land to build another park. The park is a half-acre on North Fry Street. That's north of Fairview between Curtis and Cole Roads. The purchase is part of the city's goal to make sure every person who lives in Boise is within a 10-minute walk to a park.
I just imagine like the peace and relief that other families that have small children in this area will have, who live in the trailer park just a block away, who don't have a yard, or who are renting an apartment nearby. They can just let their kids go safely across Fry Street or across Allenbaugh Street and go to a park and enjoy that.
The city is using open space and clean water levy funds to buy the land. City Council still needs to approve the purchase. Right now, there is no timeline to get the park under construction, but with the acquisition, 74% of Boiseans will be within a 10-minute walk to a park. The boys' high school state basketball tournament is underway. 48 teams from across Idaho are in town, hoping to take home the coveted state championship trophy. Our sports team is headed across the Treasure Valley, getting highlights from as many games as we can get to. We'll have those highlights coming up tonight on the news at 6 and 10. You can also watch the highlights at ktvb.com. That's the 411 on the 208. I'm Abby Davis.
It's very rewarding to watch time come back to life after it's been still for a while.
Okay, so maybe you spent the day watching the clock, marking the time when you could go home. Relax. You're with us now. So sit back and enjoy as we spend some time with a man whose job is looking at clocks, face to face, hands-on, and other time puns. And while you think of some puns of your own, how about use that pocket-sized clock, otherwise known as your cell phone, to join the 208 conversation. 208-321-5614 is the number. Make it smart or smart alecky. Just remember your name and no name calling. Also, the hashtag the 208. Well, this weekend, everybody but Arizona and Hawaii will make the switch to daylight saving time. Time to spring forward 1 hour from standard time. It's a standard that started in 1967. It was extended a couple of times, moving the day we changed the clocks from the last Sunday in April all the way to the first Sunday of March, which is this weekend. In honor of this weekend's lost hour of sleep, though, we thought we would stop by a place where time kind of stands still because it's filled with broken clocks. And there we met a man who spends his days trying to fix them, who learned later in life, escapements can be an escape to a better approach to that life. 5 days a week, just before 10 a.m., just like clockwork. Steve Hernandez starts his day in his basement boutique. Calling it a boutique may make this clock shop sound a little fancy, but not as much as the name does.
The hot horologist?
And it looks like it's the hot horologist.
Yeah. Well, you know, and then they come in and see me and think, where did you get that name?
Steve's son Ben came up with it because he thought haute horologist sounded big time.
Something a little more special as opposed to just everyday stuff. So this is an old clock off of a ship.
Steve has faced the inside of this clock for 3 days.
As you see, there's still some wear and tear here.
So it's a profession that takes perseverance and patience.
Yes. My adult children tell me, you have so much more patience, Dad, than when we were kids. Clocks and watches always fascinated me. So to me, it's all a puzzle.
Over the years, Steve thought about horology as a hobby.
I always thought, man, that would be fun, but I never had time.
With a job on the road,
visited all kinds of places,
and married with 5 kids, all your time tends to be taken. Busy.
And
no time. That is, until the Great Recession unwound that world.
The company I was with actually ended up going out of business.
So, after 2 years of school,
people thought I was crazy. And
at the age of 45,
I thought I was crazy. My wife thought I was crazy.
Steve caught up with his dream.
So now I got all the time in the world. It's a whole different little world in here.
Emphasis on little. Steve often works with hundredths or even thousandths of an inch.
Nowadays I have to have my readers, but...
Because, well, time takes its toll on everything.
Exactly. The timepieces seem to have taken their toll, along with time.
Now 60, Steve says he's probably worked on 10,000 clocks over the years, from as far away as Florida, because there aren't too many left like Steve. But the next generation is showing some promise.
Yay! Oh my gosh, it looks beautiful.
And a resurgence in wearing watches.
It's like was made in the 70s, I think, in Italy, and so I ordered it off of Etsy.
And it's just really cool to see, you know, because it's technology people have forgotten about.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And remember Ben, the one who helped open this shop? He became a certified world-class watchmaker until he wasn't.
He decided it wasn't something he wanted to do the rest of his life. He'll probably get back to it down the road, but...
If time is a circle, he might.
Maybe when he gets into his 40s.
That seems about the right time.
Yeah. You know, when you finally realize chasing that mighty dollar isn't everything.
For Steve...
You know, I work long hours and I don't complain. And
the current pace...
It's great.
...is perfect.
Am I going to retire wealthy? No. But I'm going to retire happy.
And for now, time is on his side.
People say, well, what are you going to do? You know, aren't you going to retire? Do what, a hobby? This is my hobby, so I'm going to do it as long as I can.
Till time runs out.
Yep, till time runs out.
You know, it's never too late to restart that clock, by the way, Steve says, pursuing any passion he might have. Steve doesn't just spend his days working with small parts either. He told us he's also been working on the Boise Depot clock, and not that long ago, it was in pieces in his shop. Steve says next week, like clockwork, he's going to get a lot of phone calls from people asking how to adjust the hands on their grandfather, their mantle, or their cuckoo clocks. By the way, Idaho has tried 10 times to opt out of daylight saving time, dating back as far as 2001. This year's attempt has been sitting in the House State Affairs Committee since February 5th.
Of a first alert weather day for wind and wet weather, depending on your location. It's been rainy and snowy out in the Magic Valley. Twin Falls only 35 degrees right now. We're at 51 with sunny skies, but a wildly windy afternoon here in the Boise area. Sustained winds at this moment up around 40 miles per hour in Mountain Home. It is howling across the entire Treasure Valley and will continue to be blustery for the next several hours. We're under a wind advisory until 11 o'clock tonight, so first alert weather conditions in place through then as well for the potential of wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. We have seen some near that number this afternoon. Magic Valley first alert conditions for you because of the rain and snow that have been coming down throughout your Thursday. This system, though, will slowly shift to the east overnight, taking the showers with it. Then we have some nice high pressure building in behind today's system. Still breezy tomorrow, but sunnier and drier outside of some lingering showers early Friday morning. Warmer tomorrow in the Magic Valley, highs into the 40s. We'll be in the mid to upper 50s tomorrow afternoon with abundant sunshine, a little bit of a brisk breeze. The wind dies down Saturday. Temperatures climb. We're up to 61 on Sunday. Perfect day as we spring those clocks forward.
All right, we start off with a couple of questions on this comment section of the 2-8. This one from Charlotte. How many of the non-working Medicaid recipients are actually children? Give us the real facts, not just fake numbers. Recent numbers, I looked up, about 180,000. So about 50% of the people on Medicaid right now in Idaho, Medicaid expansion as well, are covered by that. If Idaho physicians can never perform an abortion during training, does that mean that if a mother's life is in danger and an abortion is needed, she'll have to receive it from an untrained physician, asked Jason in Boise? No, that's not how that works. We learned this, which is surprising, because a part of this curriculum, they watch a 10-minute video, but then they can perform this practice on a tomato, which is a small vacuum. They go and practice and take out a seed off campus, but you don't get to really get into this type of training unless you choose that. So that is a possibility, but just a standard medical student in the WWAMI program does not have basically abortion training. Thank you, Idaho lawmakers. A $130 tax cut while giving $5,000 per child of my taxes for private schooling, continuing to discourage doctors from coming to Idaho and messing up Medicare, Medicaid. Is it possible for you to listen less, says Bud. Tax savings of $157, well, it's actually $127 if you make a certain amount of money. I can spill that much on a decent weekend on beers. How about Greg in Boise? I just spent $137 on my tax refund taking my 5 grandkids to McDonald's for dinner, said Greg in Boise. Yeah, it's not a lot. Unless you put it all together, then we're looking at $253 million. We'll see you tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.